Hey guys, today is April 28th and we are back with another Wonders lesson. This week we are again continuing with our focus for summarizing. So in just a few minutes, I will go over again what exactly summarizing is and how you can be successful at doing it. But first, let's look at this week's story. So this week's text is called Your World Up Close. Don't forget, our essential question is what can you discover when you look at something closely? Now, look at the photograph that you see on page 352. That looks like something very shiny. It almost looks like foil. Now, also, look at the bowl, and that looks like some sugar inside of it. Let's read the caption so we can get some more information. Compare these gritty grains of sugar with the magnified sugar crystal. I wonder what we're going to be reading about next. You're right, it's probably going to be about a magnified crystal. So let's take a look and see what a sugar crystal looks like up close. Does the picture on the left show a diamond or a glass prism? Look closer. Take a step back. You are too close. It is a picture of a sugar crystal. This extreme close-up was taken by an electron microscope, a tool that can magnify an item to thousands of times its actual size. Pictures taken with a high-tech electron microscope are called photomicrographs. The sugar crystal on the left may look huge, but the word micro means small. We are seeing a small part of the sugar crystal up close. Now, who would have ever thought that this picture was a magnified sugar crystal? I definitely would not have thought of that if I didn't read this selection. Let's keep going. Photomicrography dates back to 1840 when a scientist named Alfred Donné first photographed images through a microscope. Around 1852, a German pharmacist made a version of a camera that took photomicrographs. In 1882, Wilson Snowflake Bentley of Vermont became the first person to use a camera with a built-in microscope to take pictures of snowflakes. His photographs showed that there is no such thing as a typical snowflake. Each is unique. Nowadays, we have electron micrographs. Now take a look at these three photographs. Let's read the caption down below to get more information. The photographs of Snowflake Bentley showed that snowflakes are shaped like hexagons. And if you notice, if these are each three different snowflakes, you should know that no snowflake is the same. That's pretty interesting. Let's keep going. The light microscopes you use in school are weak and do not show much detail. An electron microscope is a much more powerful tool, and it allows scientists to see things we cannot see with our own eyes, such as skin cells or dust mites. Now look at your hand. Turn it over to where your palm is showing. If we were to magnify our skin, it would look way different than what we see right now. That's pretty interesting. The picture below is a close-up of human skin and shows the detail an electron microscope can capture. The more an image is magnified, the more detail you will see in the photograph. The most magnification that a photograph can capture is about 2 million times the original image size. That is huge. Magnified images have helped scientists to see what causes diseases. Over the years, scientists have learned how these diseases behave. Looking through microscopes, we have even learned what is inside a cell or how a snowflake dissolves into a drop of water. Now take a look at the photograph on 354. You can see there is an actual finger here. So look at your finger. Here's what your finger could possibly look like if it's magnified by 1 million. And here is what it could look like when it's magnified 2 million times. That's a huge difference. This, and let's read the caption so we know exactly what we're reading about. This is a human fingerprint magnified by an electron microscope. So unfortunately, the text up here tells us that the light microscopes that we have at school, they won't show what an electron microscope would show. So there's a huge difference. Let's keep going. Now remember, as we go through the text, I want you to think about how you would summarize some of these important details that we're reading about. Let's take a look at the caption up here so we can get an idea of what it's showing us here. Remember, captions are attached to photographs. The captions give us extra information about a selection that we're reading. When the mold on a strawberry is looked at under an electron microscope, it resembles grapes. So here's our strawberry. Here is the strawberry that has mold on it. Remember, mold is when the actual strawberry goes bad. And here's what the mold looks like. And it's true, it does look like grapes. Let's keep going. Scientists use electron micrographs to see how objects change over time. For example, we can look at a piece of fruit to see how it decays. First, the fruit looks fresh. After a few days, it begins to soften. Then specks of mold appear and cling to it. Days pass and eventually the fruit is covered in mold. We can see these changes under the microscope far earlier than we can see them with just our eyes. That's interesting. I wonder if I've ever eaten a strawberry that had mold on it and I just didn't see it because my eyes don't magnify the way a microscope would. Eek! Suppose you mingle outside on a humid day with friends. What would the sweat on your skin look like magnified? The possibilities are endless if you examine your world up close. What are some things that you would want to magnify if you had the chance? Think about things at home that you would want to magnify, things at school you'd want to magnify. Let's get into summarizing because that is the focus for this week. So now that you've heard your world up close, let's practice how to summarize certain pages in the text. Now, don't forget from last week, summarizing has to do with identifying the main idea and key details. So your goal is going to be to pick out only the important information out of a page and put it into your own words. That's exactly what a summary is. You retell the most important details in a paragraph or section, and you guys already know that from last week. Here's your hint, and it's still the same thing from last week. Find the key details and put them in your own words. Remember, when you summarize, you don't have to copy the whole paragraph word for word. Now, when you summarize, I always like to tell my class, it's like you're saving Miss Valadez's time because I don't necessarily want to read everything I come in contact with. If I could have you read for me and then tell me the most important things out of it, you have saved my day. So let's practice some summarizing examples. I'm going to practice 2 with you. You're going to help me identify the key details, the most important information out of a paragraph, and then we're going to write it in our own words. So let's try some examples. We're going to take a look at page 353. And let's open up that link. And let's practice. So I'm going to reread the text again one more time. I want you to read it with me. Does the picture on the left show a diamond or a glass prism? Look closer. Take a step back. You are too close. Now, if you remember, it was that picture of the sugar crystal, and I had said in the beginning of the lesson it looked like foil. Now, that probably isn't the most important information, so I think I'll leave everything in this opening. I'll leave that out in my summary. Let's keep going. It is a picture of a sugar crystal. This extreme close-up was taken by an electron microscope, a tool that can magnify an item to thousands of times its actual size. Now that sounds like something important. That sounds like something my reader definitely needs to know. So maybe I'll consider that when I go write my summary. Let's keep going. Pictures taken with a high-tech electron microscope are called photomicrographs. That also sounds very important. I better list that in my summary. Now, I'm taking notes off to the side. You can't see them, but I encourage you when you're doing a summary to do the same thing. So I have my little notebook down and I'm taking little notes on what I think is some important information that I could tell somebody so they wouldn't have to read this. The sugar crystal on the left may look huge, but the word micro means small. We are seeing a small part of the sugar crystal up close. Photomicrography dates back to 1840 when a scientist named Alfred Donné first photographed images through a microscope. That sounds kind of important too. That sounds like the process of how this may have begun. I think I'll take a little note of that also. Around 1852, a German pharmacist made the first version of a camera that took photomicrographs. In 1882, Wilson Snowflake Bentley of Vermont became the first person to use a camera with a built-in microscope to take pictures of snowflakes. His photographs showed that there is no such thing as a typical snowflake. Each is unique. Nowadays, we have electron micrographs. So, as I read, I took a few notes. And now that I'm looking at this last sentence right here, nowadays we have electron micrographs. I know that my summary has to have details about electromicrographs. So let's head back over to our document and start inputting our summary for this paragraph. All right, guys, let's go ahead and put our summary in. Now, I said as I was reading 353, I was taking some notes. You and I decided that although this information is really great, it's not the most important thing that we were looking for. Excuse me. We decided that we need to talk about micrographs. Now, if you go back and you read the paragraph, you will notice that right in this third paragraph, it talks all about micrographs. So I want to be sure to put some information in there about a micrograph. Now, let's tell the reader exactly what a photomicrograph is. And a photomicrograph, if you remember, photomicrographs are electron microscopes. Now, I'm not making any of that up because it's all over here. Here it is right here. Pictures taken with a high-tech electron microscope are called photomicrographs. So I put that into my own words. Instead of copying that word for word, I put photomicrographs are electron microscopes. I'm going to tell the reader what they're used for. They are used to magnify different objects. Now, I want to keep going and I want to give my reader a little bit more information. Now, it does say micro means small. Now, I didn't use that exact word micro, but I did put that the photomicrographs are used to magnify different objects. And you know from this week's vocabulary, magnify means to make things bigger. So let's add a few more details into our summary so our reader doesn't have to read the entire page. So if I'm looking at my last paragraph right here, I only want to pull out the most important information. And the most important information from there has to do with Alfred Donné, the German scientist, Wilson Bentley. So I want you to hit the pause button right now, come back when you're ready, and check out my summary. All right, guys, so here is the remaining part of my summary. I did say I wanted to include things about Alfred, the German pharmacist, and Bentley. Here it is right here. Alfred Donné was the first person to photograph images with a microscope. Then a German scientist created a camera that took photomicrographs. Wilson Bentley was the first to use a camera with a microscope built inside. So that would be my summary in my own words. Now it's going to be your turn to practice. You're going to head to Google Classroom, complete the assignment that says Unit 5, Week 4, Summarize.